Does that mean some sort of certification that's different than this?
Yeah, it's not specified in the thing. We go by what's allowed on the airplane. I'll pass it on to the captain.
You walked all the way back here without a mask over your nose. What's the difference?
You're gonna have to come off the airplane. They're not gonna let you travel.
What?
Non-mask compliance.
So I can't fly because this doesn't work?
No, correct.
I'm here to ask you a question. Did he just get kicked off for wearing a mask?
It's between bites and sips, sir. You have to put your mask on.
Did he just get kicked off?
Sir, I don't know what's going on, but I'm asking you. It has to be in between bites and sips. That's the federal law, okay?
Sip. Now I'm biting.
Now put it back on. Now put your
Did
mask
he just
on.
get kicked off?
Sir, I don't know what's
I'm out of
going
here.
on.
Forget it. I'm out of here.
Before my grandmother passed, she used to say, Rashad, common sense ain't all that common. So this man is boarding an airplane. He's sitting down and he has panties on his face. But he claims, oh, no, this is my mask. No, this is a mask. And they say no. Well, there's no rule that needs to define this, but obviously for people like him, there has to be a rule that says you cannot wear panties on your face. But here's something else I want you to pay attention to that happened in this story. When he got kicked off the plane for not being in compliance, he had some activist friends with him, obviously. And they were saying, well, I'm going to get off the plane too. Well, get your happy ass up off the plane. That's not hurting me or anybody else, okay? All three of you should have had on some panties on your face if you wanted to support them. Here's what they need to do. All of the QAnon, Trump-loving, anti-mask individuals, go ahead, put some panties on your face and make the biggest protest you can, all right? You just won't be flying on an airplane while you do it. Now, I really wish that people like this would protest other things that are important, like bullets inside of the bodies of unarmed black men and women. Do they get outraged about that? I find it interesting what people who are so anti-mask will get enraged about. Because things that actually affect life and liberty, they seem to be okay with saying things like, well, why didn't he just comply? All right, Mr. Malone, thoughts?
It's just the white privilege at its best. When we look at these images throughout all of what we talked about tonight has been white privilege at its best. There is a different standard for black people in this country, and there's a different standard for white people in this country. And I think we have to look at the bigger picture of how do we get to a place where we are both looked at, our actions are the same, right? And so in a lot of regards, black people can do one thing and they're held to another standard, and white people can do something else and they're held to another standard. And how do we get to a place where whether you're black or white, whatever action you're doing is held accountable at the same pace? Well, how do we get there?
Yeah, and I think that's the great conversation, the great debate. One thing is this, you can't ignore it. You see, there's a push now to eradicate teaching the reality of racism and the historical context of racism in actual public education. Well, they already started doing that in private schools. If you look at some of the books inside of private schools that have been there for many, many years, they already were saying things like, no, they were not slave owners. They were plantation owners. No. They were not slaves, they were plantation workers. This was already working inside of the curriculum in a lot of text in the country, primarily used in private education, but yes, in some public schools. Some schools adopted it inside of their district. And now you see the truth of what they were trying to do from day one, which is to not address it because you can't change what you fail to acknowledge. And if they can stop the acknowledgement phase, which by the way, their children are the ones who would acknowledge it and transform the society in a remarkable way. We have a generation of thinkers who are growing up, seeing the world for what it is, and they are best positioned to provide solution and remedy. And so what are the white bigoted parents of these children doing? They're trying to make it seem like there was no problem at all, so their children cannot be part of the dynamic remedy in the United States of America.